What an amazing World Cup we had till now, with major upsets like Saudi Arabia beating Argentina and Japan beating Germany. Also, Morocco having the dream run to the semi-finals. Then that wonderful Richarlison goal, which actually lit up the World Cup at the start, and Spain hammering 7 against Costa Rica. We had some memorable moments in this World Cup. But in this video, I'll be talking about the best and worst teams of Qatar 22. But first things first, welcome to Espo de Savi. The first part, the worst teams of the World Cup. Just to make it clear, Qatar and Canada statistically are the worst teams of this World Cup. They have 0 points and they finished bottom of the group. But nothing was expected of them. We knew that they would finish bottom of the table, and even a team like Costa Rica could be a contender for the worst team, where they were hammered 7 by Spain and they let in 11 goals in their group stages. But for me, I will not talk about these teams. I will talk about teams that were expected to do much more but faltered in the tournament quite early on. And it is all based on their past performances, their FIFA rankings, and the reputation that they brought into this tournament. Before I go to the top 5 worst teams, or let's say the bottom 5 worst teams, special mention to Wales, because they scored 1 goal, they got 1 point, and they finished bottom of the group. But to be fair to them, it was a very difficult group, and Iran really gave a good performance. Let's start with the worst teams. The worst team number 5 for me is 2010 champions Spain. Now everyone will argue, but they made it to the knockouts, they beat Germany in their group and scored 7 in the match. But a team of that caliber just scoring 4 points in 3 games, and which was as same as Germany but less than the Asian team Japan. Yes, we actually wanted more from Spain. To make things worse, they went out in the round of 16 without even scoring a goal against a Moroccan side. And what's the use of having players like Torres, Morata, Pedri and Gavi in your lineup when you can't even score a goal against an African team who is not used to playing at such a big stage? And by the way, Spain has not won a single knockout match since winning the 2010 World Cup. At number 4, Uruguay. Uruguay, for all the firepower they possess, couldn't even score a single goal in the first 2 matches. Only Tunisia in an entire World Cup took more time to score their first goal in the group stages. Finally, they not only scored 1 but 2 goals against the lowest ranked team in the competition, Ghana, but it was far from enough, and a team that showed so much fighting spirit in the 2010 and 2018 edition had to go out of the group stage along with Ghana. How ironic. Only 5 teams of the 32 that played in the group stages managed a solitary goal, and Denmark was one of them. And not only that, Denmark finished bottom of the group, which had teams, I would say lower ranked teams like Tunisia and Australia, and they couldn't even score against them. This Denmark team, which recently beat France in the recently concluded Nations League, was tipped by some to not only beat France but also top the group. However, they had to bow out in the group stages, and out of all the 6 World Cups they have played in, this is definitely the worst World Cup performance by Denmark, and they make it to my top 3, I would say bottom 3 worst teams of the FIFA World Cup 2022. Number 2 on my worst teams of the FIFA World Cup is a very unusual name. This team scored 6 goals and managed 4 points in the group stages, but still I put them as a worst team, second worst team of my FIFA World Cup, Germany. Die Mannschaft, which has a reputation of actually excelling in the World Cup, they still hold a record of most semi-final appearances, and if 2018 was I would say a blip in the tournament history, 2022 definitely has to be a fiasco. The initial loss to Japan sent shockwaves back home, and supposedly that was enough to seal the fate for this competition. Germany actually never had the intention to win the World Cup. They came with the World Cup with the mindset of protesting for whatsoever reasons, and they were very much engrossed in that. They were so much engrossed in protesting that they had their base camp set up furthest from the grounds of all the teams. So naturally they had to spend more time traveling. It hampers the preparations, and there were a lot of orders given that they cannot protest, and they still went on protesting. Yes, Germany was never in the mindset, and they crashed out quite early in the tournament, which no one is used to seeing, and that too in back-to-back editions. So Germany definitely makes my second worst team of this competition. Now the winner of the worst team of this FIFA World Cup is definitely Belgium, world number 2, and maybe they'll lose that ranking also. Now if you look at that group stages, it is not that bad. They also finished like Germany with 4 points, but with a team which still had their golden generation intact, it was I would say a very poor performance. Poor is also a very subtle word. It was a disaster by the entire Belgium team, and a team which actually made it to the semi-finals in 2018. People thought that they would step up and go ahead and have a chance, have a go to win the title in Qatar. Their campaign was a struggle from day one, and with so many stars in the lineup, they just couldn't find a way to score a goal. Their only win and goal came against a lowly Canada in the first game. But if Anthony Davis would have taken the penalty, which Courtois brilliantly saved it, then things would have been much more different, and Belgium would have looked like a minnow in this competition. By the way, the link to the penalty miss, you can watch the penalty miss over here. The team looked in a disarray completely throughout the competition, and there were reports of infighting among the players. Coach Roberto Martinez immediately resigned from his post after this shocking exit, and the golden generation just blew it. So all in all, I would say this is the worst team of FIFA World Cup 2022. Moving on to the good part, the best teams of the FIFA World Cup 2022. And again, kind of a disclaimer, it is not about the teams who finished the semi-finals or top their group. Here I would look at the top 5 teams, or I would just say the 5 teams, the underdogs, the underachievers, who exceeded expectations and also achieved things against all odds. Starting the list, my 5th best team of this World Cup is Saudi Arabia. When a team comes into a competition ranked 51, you are already treated like a minnow. And when you have a first game against a sport giant and against a hero, we have a Messi-led Argentina. Yes, people actually know that things will not go good for you as soon as the game begins, and it was that way. Argentina took the lead, but something happened in the second half, and things which were about to go as normal changed, and Saudi Arabia hammered 2 against La Albiceleste and took that win, took that game, an outstanding success, I would say, for them in football history. And also that day they topped the group. However, their performance dipped and they lost back-to-back matches to Poland and Mexico and finished bottom of the group. But just by the virtue of beating Argentina on match day 1 and causing a major celebration in that Arab nation, I would give Saudi Arabia as my 5th best team of the FIFA World Cup. At number 4, I have the lowest ranked team in the competition, Ghana. At rank 61, Ghana came into this competition just like a filler team. But you know what? They scored 5 goals in the group stages. Out of all the other remaining 31 teams that participated in this competition, only 5 teams managed to score more goals than Ghana. So yes, that is more than commendable from a team ranked 61. And if you look at how they went about the competition, they actually managed to salvage a draw against Portugal, and it would have been a high-scoring draw, but they couldn't score the 3rd goal, and they also managed to beat South Korea to take a win in that tough group. Had they drawn the last match against Uruguay, they would have definitely made it to the knockouts. But 2 first half goals by Uruguay killed the contest, and Ghana had to be shown the door quite early. But Ghana, the way they played, they actually lifted up the World Cup, and definitely deserves a spot in my best teams of this World Cup. The 3rd best team of this FIFA World Cup is the lowest ranked team that qualified for the knockouts, and that is Australia. Australia not only made it to the knockout, but also managed 2 wins in the group stages. And one of those was beating a much higher ranked Denmark. It is impressive to think that on the opening day, they were outclassed completely by France 4-1 and still managed to make it to the knockouts, courtesy of back-to-back 1-0 wins against Denmark and Tunisia. So Australia is my top 3 in the best teams list. Moving to the end of the list, my 2nd best team of this FIFA World Cup are the Blue Samurais, Japan. Japan defeated 2 major superpowers, Spain and Germany, to former world champions and caused major upset in the competition. Although they surprisingly lost to Costa Rica in the group stage, they still managed to top this very difficult group. Like Australia, Japan succumbed to a much higher ranked team in the round of 16, but they did not lose a match. They drew the match 1-1 to Croatia, but eventually bowed out of the competition on penalties. Based on the points gained and the wins secured, Japan actually finished the best of the teams that were knocked out in the round of 16. So definitely Japan has to be, for me, is the 2nd best team of this World Cup. And finally, to the top spot and the best team of this FIFA World Cup, for me, as expected, is Morocco. This West African nation surpassed all expectations by reaching the top 4 of this edition, and not only that, they became the first African nation in history to reach the semis of a Football World Cup. Respect to Morocco. Looking at some of the major achievements of Morocco, they beat world number 2 Belgium in the group stages. They conceded only 1 goal in the group stage. They topped the group, which had 2 major European heavyweights, Croatia and Belgium. And not only that, on the way to the semi-final, which itself is a big accomplishment, they went on to beat 2 former European champions of the last decade, Spain and Portugal. So definitely, Morocco for me has to be the best team of this FIFA World Cup in Qatar. That's it. This is my list, the worst and the best teams. I know many of y'all will disagree and may not like the names that I put up, but if you feel you have any other names, that some teams that exceeded expectations and some teams were actually very bad at this Football World Cup, then let me know. And yes, thanks for watching. Till then, let's all be sports savvy.